What's going on, guys? This is the Red Rogue and I hope you're all doing well today. This is just a quick little follow-up video to the one I did recently on the first looks at the target cap changes coming with patch 9.15. If you hadn't heard already, the target cap for quite a number of abilities across many classes and specs in WoW are going to be changed soon, with the abilities dealing their normal damage on up to a set number of targets, but reduced damage to additional targets above that cap. Please keep in mind this is all stuff from the PTR server, so it's entirely possible for things to change dramatically or maybe not at all before they reach live servers with patch 9.15. With my obligatory disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about the target soft cap, as it's not quite as simple as just uncapped AoE. The wording on this topic was originally a little vague, as the exact damage formula used for the whole additional targets take reduced damage thing wasn't known until the most recent PTR build. I'll be going over that a little bit in this video, but specifically there were some changes coming to rogue abilities that actually would and might still result in a bit of a nerf if they're left as is. The largest issue, which thankfully is going to be corrected very soon, is that on the patch 9.15 PTR, Black Powder, Shuriken Storm, Phantom Knives, and Crimson Tempest have all been reduced to only hit 5 targets, with the reduced damage taking place starting on numbers 6 and above. This has already been confirmed to be a straight-up oversight on the development team's part, as these moves will be returning to their original 8 targets in the coming PTR builds. This is some good news, as otherwise it actually would have resulted in a bit of a DPS loss for both Assassination and Subtlety in the 6 to 8 target range, which would have sucked quite a bit. Unfortunately, there's still no new outlaw stuff other than like a random buff to Dreadblades for whatever reason, but I'll be sure to let you folks know if/when the pirate spec gets some attention on the PTR. For the rest of the video though, I'll be explaining a somewhat unfortunate side effect currently on the PTR due to the target cap change for Subtlety, as well as how that all ties into square root scaling of AoE damage, which is the method our reduced damage bit of AoE is going to work in the future. As plenty of Subtlety players have seen right now, or even if they haven't seen it but just feel the damage out of it, Black Powder is a pretty great move in heavy AoE pulls. Not only does it deal damage to up to 8 targets on live servers, but it works really well with Finality, as that's a legendary that's good in both single target and AoE, and it has the added benefit of 40% shadow damage bonus that Black Powder dishes out to any and all targets with Find Weakness currently active on them. This is true even on live servers right now, meaning if you can get Find Weakness on, let's say, 12 or 13 enemies due to Shuriken Storm spamming and a guaranteed critical hit from using Symbols of Death with your next combo point generator, you can actually hit more than 8 targets with that shadow damage portion of Black Powder because it hits all targets for the same amount. As a quick example, I went into Freehold and pulled a metric ton of crap on live just to show how many targets can be hit with Black Powder's shadow damage, which should be the footage you're all seeing right now. It isn't super easy getting Find Weakness on more than 8 targets at a time, but it is doable, and as you can see, a single cast of Black Powder has given me more than 8 hits of the shadow damage bonus. One thing you'll notice right now on live servers is that your Black Powder damage, and your Black Powder shadow damage especially, is pretty consistent, as it always hits for basically the same amount whether it's a normal hit or a critical hit. On the 9.15 PTR though, these numbers are gonna look very, very different. For consistency, I just ended up going back to Freehold again on the PTR and pulled a ton of crap, and hit literally all of them with that guaranteed critical strike Shuriken Storm thanks to Symbols of Death, and then just threw out a Black Powder. As I mentioned earlier, right now on the PTR, these moves are soft capped at 5 targets, but they will be going back up to 8 again in another build, so please excuse that part in the footage. The part that's more important to notice is how little damage each individual hit of Shuriken Storm, Black Powder, and bonus shadow damage for Black Powder is doing on the PTR servers right now. This is due to the way the new AoE soft cap is going to be calculated, and it's known as square root scaling. While I'm not much of a mathematician or a theory crafter or whatever, the easy way of explaining this form of damage scaling is this. Your first X number of targets, in our case on the PTR right now 5, will take the normal damage listed on the tooltip for Shuriken Storm, Black Powder, etc. Once you're hitting more than 5 targets though, the damage dealt to each target is technically going to go down as you hit more enemies, although the overall damage dealt per cast of an ability will go up since the damage is being split amongst every enemy hit. So basically, in an AoE situation like a 10 target situation, the damage of all of your AoE moves are going to spread between all 10 enemies, but each individual target is going to take slightly less damage than if you were only hitting 9 enemies with the same move. it still results in more damage per ability cast, but the damage just gets spread out more and more as you fight more things at once. People who are way more number savvy than me have already put together numerous graphs and charts visually explaining how these things work in numerical stances, but a good example is on this chart here is with the 8 target soft cap that Shuriken Storm and Black Powder are supposed to have. As you can see from the yellow line, which is an 8 target related soft cap ability, it starts to plateau and around 20 targets, it would be the equivalent in total damage of that same ability if it were uncapped, hitting 13 targets for full damage. This is obviously not quite as amazing sounding as some might have anticipated with the AoE cap going away, but this change in soft caps has made a much more noticeable impact on Subtlety, since now the bonus shadow damage of Black Powder is being included in that calculation of a target soft cap, which it isn't currently on live servers. I would imagine and assume that's a mistake on Blizzard's half, as the move specifically mentions that it will hit all targets for 40% of shadow damage, while also stating that the physical damage only hits 8 targets on live servers right now. I've already reported this as a potential bug on the PTR, but it is entirely possible that this is the design intention for how Black Powder is going to work moving into patch 9.15. The numbers are still really uncertain, and obviously right now as I'm recording this, all these moves are stuck at the undertuned 5 target soft cap, which has already been stated by the Warcraft dev's Twitter account as being wrong, and that these moves are meant to still hit 8 targets. There is a chance this can negatively impact overall AoE damage if the shadow damage portion of Black Powder is being forced into the square root scaling of the AoE soft cap, so I am going to be keeping my eye on this, and we'll try to put out something if they revert this portion of the move back to how it's supposed to work and how it works on live servers currently. Either way, I hope you all enjoyed the video and maybe learned a couple things here and there. If so, feel free to leave a like, a comment, or maybe even subscribe to the channel if you're interested in other WoW related videos and stuff like that. I'm going to be trying to cover as much 9.15 information as possible, so I might find some other useful things to let you all know about. As always, my appreciation and gratitude to all of my viewers and especially my patrons, who all help make these Shiba Shenanigans possible. Thank you all so much for watching. This is the Red Rogue, and I'll see you guys around.